For years now, I've kept this in my office. It's a relay race baton, in case you can't tell. You know, if a relay runner loses focus when they're passing the baton to the next runner and fumbles it, how fast they are becomes totally irrelevant. If he doesn't make a clean handoff, he totally tanks his team's chances to win. Now, I used this particular baton as an illustration one time. In fact, it was one of the very first sermons I ever did. I talked about how my dad had passed the legacy to me of being faithful. He didn't fumble the handoff. So now it's my responsibility as a dad to make a clean handoff to my kids. So I've kept this baton to remind me of something that is important to me. It's crucial that I not forget. Have you ever noticed in the Old Testament how people often built altars? For a long time, I confused the altars that I read about with podiums. So I pictured them as sort of a lectern that people could stand behind to give a speech. But that's not what these particular altars were about. They built these altars as memorials because they wanted to remember something significant that God had done right there at that very spot. So they built these because they recognized that even when something important and life-changing happens, we all have a tendency to forget over time. They wanted to make sure they remembered. Now, we don't typically pile up a bunch of rocks and build those sorts of altars anymore, but we do still have markers to remind us of things that are important to us. For example, we save crafts that our kids made at school to remember when they were little. We buy t-shirts or souvenirs while we're on vacation to remember the trip. Those sorts of things serve the same purpose as altars because they help us recall those times. Sometimes we seem to view our wedding ring like it's basically just an expensive indicator that we're off the market, we're no longer single. But your wedding ring is also a kind of memorial. It's a reminder not only of the commitment you made to your spouse, but also a reminder of God's faithfulness through your marriage. So, take a moment right now to think about some of the ways God has provided for you, or maybe answered your prayers, especially in terms of your marriage and your family. Perhaps the fact that you even have a marriage and a family is an answer to a prayer. But I want you to think about some of the ways you've been blessed through those relationships. Then, find a way to prompt yourself to remember that. Designate something as an altar. It's important that we remember what's important. So maybe in the days ahead, your wedding ring could remind you not just that you're married, but you could let it be a reminder of those ways God has shown up for you, because it really is important that we